change. Dr. Gilroy Middleton, CEO in the Ministry of Transport, Youth and Sports. Mr. Raul Salazar, United Nations Resident Coordinator, government officials, head of UN agencies, funding partners, and most importantly, a warm welcome to the young people in our audience today and those joining us online. Before we delve into today's event, a few housekeeping notes. Restrooms are located outside down the hall to the right. Please keep your phones on silent to avoid any interruptions. And throughout the day, we kindly encourage you to use the hashtag Belize Youth Dialogue in all your social media posts. Remember, we value and respect everyone's point of view, so let's keep our discussions interactive, positive, and inclusive. Protocol being established, I am Sadie Quetzal, Foreign Service Officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Today, I am honored to be your Director of Ceremonies for this special event, where we will hear directly from the youths of Belize about the future they envision. Please stand as we welcome Ms. Anselma Jones to perform the national anthem of Belize on the steel pan. Kindly remain standing for the national prayer by Ms. Athena Belizier.
Almighty and eternal God, who through Jesus Christ has revealed your glory to all nations, please protect and preserve Belize, our beloved country. God of might, wisdom, and justice, please assist our Belizean government and people with your Holy Spirit of counsel and fortitude. Let the light of your divine wisdom direct their plans and endeavors, so that with your help we may attain our just objectives. With your guidance, may all our endeavors tend to peace, social justice, liberty, national happiness, the increase of industry, sobriety, and useful knowledge. We pray, O God of mercy, for all of us, that we may be blessed in the knowledge and sanctified in the observance of your most holy law, that we may be preserved in union and in that peace which the world itself cannot give. And after knowing the blessings of this life, please admit us there, Lord, to that eternal reward that you have prepared for those who love you. Amen.
Kindly be seated. To officially kick off our dialogue, please welcome Her Excellency CEO Amalia Mai in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Known for her distinguished career in diplomacy, Ambassador Mai, the time is yours. Yes.
Good morning to all and each of you. It is a real honor and a pleasure to welcome you all to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. We are particularly pleased today to be hosting young people from all across Belize and from all walks of life. We can feel your energy, your enthusiasm, and we have a lot of anticipation onto what you will say today and how we can move forward with your visions and with your aspirations. I wish to acknowledge my own minister, Minister Fonseca, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade, Education, and I'm run out of words for his ministry. And of course, our friend, Mr. Raul Salazar, the UN Resident Coordinator, and our co-host for today's Youth Dialogue. I also wish to acknowledge our key collaborators, my colleagues, the CEO of Education, Culture, Science, and Technology, the colleague of Youth Sports and Transport, and of course of Sustainable Development and Climate Change, and all the heads of the UN agencies in Belize. I also want to acknowledge those that have tuned in virtually for this event, and all the heads of the universities and faculty of the 4 institutions in Belize. Today's Youth Dialogue is a very special event for many reasons, including that our auditorium is filled with the future of Belize. Friends, by its nature, foreign policy is always driven by national interests. Every day, our ministry and our overseas posts represent the interests of Belize. This is our mandate. And so hearing directly from Belizean youth is an invaluable opportunity for us to strengthen the connection between our work and your perspectives. The Belize and the world that we spend our days working to improve and to make more just is for your benefit and that of future generations. I am sure that already you understand that developments across the world in places distant from Belize affect us. I'm also sure that in the course of your studies, particularly in history, you have gained an understanding of how historical events from wars to colonization and from slavery to industrialization have profoundly and consequentially shaped the world we live in now, and which is one of deep inequalities and power imbalances. That is the world with which you and I and all of us wrestle today. But the world is not static, as you know. It provides an opportunity for us and for you to influence and to advocate for how the world of the future will look. We believe that there are many reasons to be optimistic, and let me share with you 3 such reasons. First, It is a young world. About half of the world's population is under 30 years of age. Furthermore, there are 1.2 billion youngsters between the ages of 13 and 24, and 90% of them are in developing countries like Belize. In fact, in today's auditorium, I would hazard a guess that 80% are young people in the term of the UN. And if numbers are power, you are a part of a significant global group of young people who have shared interests in a sustainable, resilient, and prosperous future. 2, it is an advanced world. New technologies, advances in medicine, digitalization, and innovation are breaking down barriers, offering possibilities both to leapfrog development and to solve age-old problems. Consider that the vaccine for mumps took 4 years to develop in the 1960s, whereas the COVID vaccine was delivered for safe use in 326 days, less than a year. So you have an opportunity to seize these advantages and demonstrate that they can be a force for good, and that they can be shared and used in a respectful, equitable, and ethical manner to overcome structural barriers to development, including in the most remote areas. 3, it is a resilient world. The Earth is more than 4 billion years old. But it has an incredible capacity for resilience. And there are still many things we can do, guided by science and data, to enhance our resilience to be better able to cope with shocks, from transitioning to green economies to investing in disaster risk reduction, and from addressing structural inequalities to reducing pollution. We have the technical knowledge and the know-how to reduce vulnerabilities. Today's youth dialogue aims to enhance awareness among you on the issues impacting your future. We also want to hear your experiences, your ideas, and your aspirations for the future that you want for yourself, for Belize, and for the world. Your views will inform Belize's contribution to the Summit of the Future, which is coming up next month in September in New York, and which Belize will be represented by Prime Minister Briceño. So we hope that today's dialogue will be a standing partnership among all of us, which will sustain exchanges and engagement. I want to close by thanking the United Nations Resident Coordinator and country team for their partnership and support. I also want to thank my colleague CEOs for readily agreeing to collaborate on this event and for accompanying us every step of the way. And I want to acknowledge the work that our staff here at this ministry has put in. It was long words, I'm told, but I'm told it was very engaging and rewarding for them. And I also want to thank very deeply my own minister for supporting us in every step of this endeavor. But today, youths, is all about you. So we look forward to your active engagement in all the 3 panels and throughout the proceedings today. So I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Mai, for setting an optimistic tone for today's dialogue. Next, we have Mr. Raul Salazar, who has been serving as the United Nations Resident Coordinator to Belize since June 1st, 2023. With his extensive experience, he brings valuable insights to our discussion. Mr. Salazar, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Honorable Francis Fonseca, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade and Education, Culture, Science and Technology, Ambassador Amay, CEO of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade and Immigration, distinguished CEOs, directors and heads of governments, heads of UN agencies, colleagues joining us here, funds and programs, heads of the universities and partners in academia, students, youth, and members of civil society, colleagues of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to welcome you here today at the Belize Youth Dialogue for the Summit of the Future. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank our partners at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade for leading the organization of these events in partnership with the United Nations in Belize. And I remember Ambassador Amay when we came with the idea of having this dialogue and how significant and the meaning of having this dialogue at this moment, right? As you said, the core message of this Summit of the Future, taking place now in September, 22nd, 23rd of September, is around the future, and the future is the youth. We are not talking about, yes, of course, the aspirations of what we want to do, but how and the way we're going to get there is with the engagement of youth, the youth that we have invited here to discuss and to hear what they have to say. So first I would like to start in sharing the message with young people in Belize. First, that the future is your future, but the future is at risk if we do not act soon. The Secretary General 2024 reports on the progress of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals already said that 17% of the targets are on track, with nearly half showing minimal or moderate progress, and over 1/3 of these targets stalling or regressing. But all hope is not lost, and the cases that we have for not losing hope are exactly the reason why we're having this Summit of the Future, is to see what countries have put in place to make, in the context of several crises and challenges, succeed in advancing in the different targets. And Belize is one of the countries showing what is possible to achieve. It is currently the Agenda for Sustainable Development is carried out by 33 UN agencies and 130 UN country teams globally. And the Youth Dialogue today aligns with a strategy providing a platform for youth voices and ideas to be heard in exploring innovative solutions to address the development challenges that we face today. Youth and civil society engagement also remains a key enabler for the UN Multi-Country Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework and the country implementation plan that we just signed last Monday. And the opportunities for engagement of youth will be present, of course, in implementation 2024-2025, and it is a mandate of the UN call for the Secretary General for all UN agencies, funds and programs to engage youth in this process. Belize is a country where 35% or over 1/3 of our population is classified as youth, and this is a potential and dynamic that is there and that exists in Belize to achieve these objectives. Today's dialogue is an opportunity for starting this dialogue, hearing your voices. You have been engaged in different initiatives along all these years, but this is the moment where your voices need to be taken to this global platform. And Belize government is taking your ideas and the results of this dialogue as part of their statement to the world on, again, what is possible to achieve and how youth can contribute to this. I would like to commend the partnership with academia and civil society in joining us today in this dialogue, and to remember that in March this year, the UN in Belize embarked on a partnership with the 4 universities in Belize through a joint declaration of intent to work collectively to support the acceleration of the SDGs in Belize. And I'm really happy and excited to see that universities have engaged in this dialogue, and each student of these universities now having this discussion will bring their ideas to the panel, and that each university is actively engaged and committed to advance the Sustainable Development Goals in Belize. I also would like to acknowledge the financial and technical support from the agencies here in Belize, and I would like to name them: the Office of UN Women, UNICEF, UNDP, the High Commissioners for Refugees, UNFPA, UNESCO, the Pan American Health Organization and World Health Organization, and the Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights. These are the agencies that have contributed with the ideas financially and also discussing the structure of these dialogues, and also you'll see some of my colleagues facilitating these dialogues. At the Summit of the Future in September, the world leaders will meet under the 79th UN General Assembly to agree on a pact for the future, as well as a global digital compact, and what is more relevant for you joining us today, a declaration on future generations. As we prepare, your insights are crucial in ensuring that the Sustainable Development Goals are not just aspirations, but realities in Belize. Let's think of today as a start of a journey that we start together, where you are leading the process. You will be the ones charting the course for Belize's future and beyond. So as we continue the discussion today, I encourage you all to be bold, to be creative, and most importantly, be yourselves. Your voice matters, and your participation is key in shaping the policies that will define your future. Thank you for being here, and let's continue to engage, inspire, and drive the change we wish to see in Belize and in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Salazar. Your overview of the multilateral context for the Summit of the Future and today's Youth Dialogue has set the perfect stage for our keynote speaker. Please join me in welcoming Honorable Francis Fonseca, who has been serving Belize since 2003 in various roles within the Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports, Culture, and Labor. Honorable Francis Fonseca has played a key role in advancing education reform to enhance the quality and accessibility for all Belizeans. He is currently the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, focusing on shaping our foreign policy. Let's give him a warm welcome of applause, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Saidi. I want to, of course, welcome all of you to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. But of course, I want to give a special welcome to the young people who are here with us. The reason we are all gathered here today is to hear from them, to hear from the young people. It's a Belize Youth Dialogue. So we want to hear very clearly the voices of our young people, so that then, as Raul said, and as CEO Mai said, in September, when we go to New York, to the United Nations, the Prime Minister and I, the Prime Minister will deliver our remarks on behalf of the people of Belize and also on behalf of the young people of Belize. That will form a part of that Summit of the Future dialogue. So I want to welcome all our young people here, both in the auditorium and those who are joining us online. All of our UN agencies represented here today. Of course, our UN Resident Coordinator, who is also our co-host today's Youth Dialogue, Raul Salazar, the Chief Executive Officers. Friends, the world is at a critical juncture. Rapid change, uncertainty, and conflicts characterize the global context in which we now live. The climate emergency is worsening by the day. Geopolitical rivalries are impeding global cooperation, and the international system is proving ineffective at maintaining peace and security. Digitalization, technology, science, and innovation are rapidly advancing, posing both risk and unprecedented opportunities for progress. Almost a decade ago, in 2015, world leaders made historic commitments to reduce disaster risk, provide development financing, achieve sustainable development, and tackle climate change by 2030. World leaders recognized then that the world was approaching an inflection point. If we did not address these cross-cutting challenges, humanity would face a bleak future. Today, while some progress has been made, we still face immense challenges. Further compounding the unfulfilled commitments was the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Across the world, after decades of decline, extreme poverty is on the rise. Hunger has surged, and the long-term decline of inequality across countries is regressing. In fact, as Raul pointed out, only 17% of the SDGs are on track for achievement. The development financing gap, that means what it will cost to achieve the SDGs, continues to widen and is now estimated to be $4.2 trillion annually. Thousands are dying in brutal conflicts on 3 continents simultaneously. And according to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the global economy is forecasted to continue to experience protracted low growth, which of course inevitably leads to an unequal and unstable world. Biodiversity is being lost at the fastest rate ever. Greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise. Global temperatures are continuously hitting new highs. Scientists have begun to consider how your future will look if we do not achieve our climate goals. Based on the science, they forecast that children aged 10 or younger in the year 2020 are projected to experience a nearly 4-fold increase in extreme events. And the percentage of the population exposed to deadly heat stress is projected to increase from today's 30% to over 50% by the end of the century. Other forecasts indicate that climate crisis will disrupt the education of 38 million children across the world, and that by 2050 there would be and could be 143 million more migrants. The global picture is, of course, a composite of the challenges of all countries, including Belize. But we cannot be resigned to the future that the current trajectory portends, because you, our young people, deserve better. If we do not take urgent action now to course correct, the needs and interests of present and future generations will be jeopardized, perhaps in ways now unknowable and irreparable. The stakes, therefore, could not be higher for Belize. Belize is still a very young country, where the national median age is 25. Next month, as I said, world leaders will gather again at the United Nations in New York for the Summit of the Future. World leaders, including Prime Minister Briceño, will adopt a pact for the future, a renewed commitment to undertake specific actions to protect the needs and interests of present and future generations. What might those specific actions be? Well, this is the core of the youth dialogue today. We want to hear from you. It is imperative that the voices, the hopes, the anxieties, and the aspirations of the present and future generation of Belizeans are accounted for. And this is particularly important because the choices that world leaders make next month, their actions taken, or the inaction, will shape your future and the kind of world future generations inherit. Here at home, government's Plan Belize Medium-Term Development Strategy 2022 to 2026 was built on the basis of the global context that I described earlier. Plan Belize ultimately focuses all of government's efforts toward building a more democratic, inclusive, and resilient Belize. We are already making headway. The multidimensional poverty index points to considerable progress being made, but structural inequalities are contributing to the persistence of the intensity of poverty. Government is implementing a number of programs to try to address this. The expansion of the national health insurance, the expansion of the education upliftment project, which will now be providing comprehensive support to half of the high school population. The increase in the minimum wage. Over 400 starter homes have been built for low-income families across the country. We have reached full employment. New economic and investment policies and programs to stimulate development. The debt, the national debt, has been reduced to 66% of GDP, compared to 133% in 2020. Unprecedented investments in rural development. In terms of human rights, we have adopted an Occupation Safety and Health Act, the Disabilities Rights Act, and joined the Escazú Agreement. We have adopted a new progressive national gender policy. We are undertaking bold, comprehensive constitutional reform. We have established the People's Constitutional Commission. And I always encourage young people to make sure that you're involved in that process. Constitutional reform really only comes around once in a generation. So it's critically important for young people to have your voices heard in that process of constitutional reform. What is the kind of governance structure that you would like to see for your country moving forward? And of course, important work being done to increase access to land. But our efforts at home do not occur in a vacuum. International agreements, international cooperation, international systems are critical to providing the enabling support that we need. And on that score, outdated international systems, mistrust and misguided competition, and short-term thinking are impeding our aspirations for sustainable development. Let me highlight two areas on which action by the international community is imperative and urgent. One, of course, is climate change, the defining challenge of our generation. It is the most significant obstacle to our development. But developed countries and large greenhouse gas emitters have failed to cut their emissions at the scale and speed necessary. Consequently, global warming is intensifying. Every month of this year broke new records for the hottest month ever. We experienced that in Belize as protracted heat waves, which set the stage for devastating wildfires a couple months ago. It also set the stage for warmer oceans, which produced in the Caribbean last month the earliest Category 5 hurricane on record. These climatic events have deep impact on vulnerable populations, on communities, and on the environment on which we depend. Preliminary estimates suggest that the damage caused by this year's wildfires in Toledo and Cayo was $8.4 million. So though Belize has not contributed to the causes of climate change, we are on the front lines of this emergency. We are bearing the cost of the loss and damage, and the cost of the impact, and of the adaptation and resilience that are necessary to survive climate change. 50% of climate finance to Belize between 2015 and 2019 were loans. That cannot be right. For our plan to implement the Paris Agreement, Belize needs US $1.46 billion. And so for Belize, the international community must deliver on climate finance. By that we mean that the new climate finance goal must include an allocation for the most vulnerable, for small developing states like Belize. And we must have access to concessionary finance, which brings me to that second critical issue, access to development finance. Our National Development Strategy, Plan Belize, requires financing to implement. It is costed at $7.2 billion Belize. Presently, 90% public sector projects are funded by external donors. But on average, more than 2/3 are loans, and only about a fifth or less are grant funding. The international financial architecture as currently constructed, has an obsession with GDP and is unable to pivot to the current reality where the lens of vulnerability is needed to better understand the development challenges of states. We have, together with our allies, managed to eke out a multi Dimensional Vulnerability Index, which we hope is scheduled to be adopted next week by UN member states. Its impact will be in its use by the UN development system, multilateral banks, and by the international financial institutions and donor partners. In addition to eligibility criteria to access finance, the current system has no comprehensive, rapid way to manage debt distress. Developing countries like Belize are absent at the decision-making level and an incomplete set of tools to address the systemic risk that climate change poses. These are just a few areas where urgent reform is needed if we are to mobilize financing at the scale needed for developing countries. So my friends, make no mistake about it. Ensuring a better future for you, for the young people of Belize, for future generations, will require your active engagement. It will require your relentless advocacy. It will be a grinding struggle. But I give you the commitment of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, the commitment of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Science and Technology, and indeed the commitment of the entire government of Belize to work with you and make sure that your needs and your interests are always, always at the forefront of our agenda, the forefront of our plans, the forefront of our policies, the forefront of our mind. I thank you very much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Minister Fonseca, for that compelling vision of the future. Your insights remind us that each challenge presents an opportunity for both current and future generations. As we move forward, our team engaged with young people to gather their thoughts, concerns, and hopes for the future. Let's watch the video.
Our future hangs in the balance. Breakthrough or breakdown. Peace or conflict. Together or apart.
The world has a choice to make, and our Belizean voices need to be heard loud and clear.
This is our moment to work together to make breakthrough choices, to find solutions fit for our future.
On August 9th, we gather for the Summit of the Future to hear what young Belizeans want.
What is one thing leaders could do today to ensure a better future for all Belizeans?
One thing leaders could do today to ensure a better future for all Belizeans is to invest and prioritize more in education, because as you see, education plays a very big role in our Belizean society today. So I believe if each Belizean get equal opportunity to a higher education, it will benefit Belize more as a country.
Do you believe gender equality can be achieved in your lifetime? Why or why not?
Yes, I believe gender equality can be achieved if men and women work together and change their old traditional mindsets.
What inequalities do you face in your daily life, and how do they affect you?
Inequalities that young men and I face in life are harassment from police officers asking us about our area where we live in and searching us like we are criminals.
What changes can we make in our daily lives and behavior to safeguard the needs of future generations?
We as young teenagers and young adults, we must focus on developing our education to have more opportunities and develop environmental conservation practices to have a better future.
Can poverty in Belize be eliminated in your lifetime? What programs should the government prioritize to eliminate poverty?
Yes, I do believe that poverty can be eliminated in my lifetime. I feel like this can happen by the government prioritizing specific organizations that aim for a financially balanced community.
How does climate change affect your daily life? And what actions do you think are necessary to address its effects?
Climate change affects me because the temperature in Belize is very hot and it leads to health problems. Our crops are dying and everything is getting expensive. To address it is if we preserve our natural ecosystems and promote sustainable activities such as reduce, reuse, recycle, and SDGs.
In a few words, what is your vision of Belize in the future beyond 2030?
My vision and hope for Belize beyond 2030 is less poverty, our government prioritizing climate change and sustainable development, fostering gender equality and equal employment.
In September, Belize will join other nations in adopting a pact for the future at the United Nations in New York.
The Summit of the Future, hosted by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the United Nations in Belize, will ensure that our voices are heard and considered in this pact.
Visit this link to learn more about this event and tell us what you want and about your visions for Belize. Remember, our future hangs in the balance and it's ours to save.
Wow, that video was captivating. Shedding light on some important topics. Ladies and gentlemen, time to capture this moment. Everyone, please make your way to the designated lobby where the official photo will be taken. Please remember to smile, because this could be your next profile picture. Thank you.